Anglo American has given BHP additional time to present a binding offer. This after rejecting 3 takeover proposals, which is said is undervalued the company and would be difficult to execute. The world's biggest listed miner, BHP, offers have been a test of how far it's willing to go to attain Anglo's assets. Today, we look into Anglo American's role as a leading corporate citizen and its contribution to this country. And joining me for that discussion is CEO of the Maharishi Institute, Dr. Taddy Blecher. Dr. Blecher, thank you for your time and a good afternoon to you.
Thank you very much, Nolatanda. It's a privilege to be on your show. Thank you.
Wonderful. In the article that you penned, actually, you make reference to this Anglo and BHP deal, or the prospect of a deal here, and really having to look beyond the commercial aspect of it. Let's talk about that.
No, that's right, Nolatando. And I think, it's a big moment for South Africans. And I think people don't realize how big it is because BHP, obviously an Australian company, Anglo American has its history, its roots firmly in South Africa, even though it's been listed in the UK for quite some time. But Anglo American is 107 years old this year, and it has contributed massively to our communities, to probably 1,000 initiatives, some of which I can talk about having been closely involved in, and for this incredible company to be kind of potentially swallowed up by this Australian giant, I think it's a massive and irreplaceable and unimaginable loss that South Africans have to think about. And obviously everybody's thinking about the economic aspects and governance and legal and what the Competition Commission going to do, et cetera, et cetera. But I think South Africa is going to lose a huge champion in terms of what Anglo American has represented for the last 107 years.
Let's talk about some of those initiatives and the good, bad, and ugly of all of it, of Anglo American's presence in South Africa.
Yes, no, definitely, and so let's start with the good, so firstly, I'll just talk about some very, very recent projects. Our institution, the Maharishi Institute, Anglo American has donated us 2 huge buildings in the Joburg city centre. The one we got on the 4th of August last year is 42,000 square meters, A-grade, fantastic, beautiful, state-of-the-art infrastructure. It's probably one of the 10 most iconic buildings in South Africa. The value is probably about 230 million rand if you were to add in everything that Anglo gave us, like in terms of refurbishing and equipment and furniture and so on. And they gave us the building for 2.30 rand, about 1 millionth of the actual cost, probably value. Why? Because they're doing this to help the youth of Joburg in perpetuity to access world-leading education, and so that all the youth sitting in our communities in Soweto and Orange Farm and Katlehong and all like so many places around the CBD are able to get education for only 200 rand a month or less. In 2005, they gave us our first building. We've been able to educate now and place 21,000 formerly unemployed individuals into quality jobs. These individuals earn over 2 billion rand in combined earnings. We estimate they'll earn over 59 billion in their working careers. And then we're working with Anglo on another initiative to help really bolster the future of Joburg CBD. Many people feel Joburg is a hellhole. It's gone to the dogs. There was that huge explosion in Bree Street. There was that terrible fire that killed 74 people. And, excuse me. And so Anglo has taken the lead to create something called Josie My Josie, and they brought on board people like FNB, Standard Bank, ABSA, ourselves, Wits University, Nando's, and others. And we've started putting solar street lighting in, so even when there's load shedding at nights and when muggings and things can happen, that now it's lit up beautifully like a Christmas tree. We've started a security academy, which will lead to hundreds and hundreds of security, highly trained individuals on the streets, protecting everybody, looking after the city. There's so many parts of this initiative. We're putting the first ever soccer field into Joburg CBD, which will be up in the next year, called the Joburg Field of Dreams. So this is just some of the things we've done. We started one of the first multiracial schools. Excuse me, I've got this horrible cough. This multiracial school back in 1985. Anglo funded it. It became Sagewood School in Midrand. Many tens of thousands of people have probably had their children go through there over the years, had a 100% matric pass rate for a long, long time. So I'll stop there, and I think those are some of the examples of the good that we've directly been involved in. But I can tell you there's another 1,000, if not 1,000, 5,000 more things that Anglo have done in the time that they've been operating as a corporate citizen. And I think it's the way that they do business, and that includes many other initiatives that they've done, creating universities, schools during the apartheid years, so many schools they created, etc., etc. And so that's really what I'm mourning the loss of, if we are going to lose that kind of DNA in our country.
Well, Dr. Blecher, unfortunately, we are out of time. Would have loved to keep hearing more about some of those. Thank you so much for joining us today. That was Dr. Taddy Blecher, CEO of the Maharishi Institute.